Okay, everybody, so I'm going to have a conversation with you about the truth of overrides and bonuses when it comes to selling insurance or recruiting insurance agents. And the reason I'm putting this video together is to give you some kind of inside baseball and what it's really like. Most likely, if you're watching this, you get a lot of hype from your possibly Kool-Aid drinking MLM insurance agency about the wonderful world of recruiting agents and the wonderful outcome of overrides. And while that definitely is a good thing, it's certainly not always. And I'm going to kind of give you, as best as I can, some perspective on some things you need to be aware of if you decide that recruiting is something you want to do to develop overrides. And then also cover the topic of bonuses and why that's kind of many times overhyped. My name is David Duford, owner of Duford Insurance Group. I train and recruit agents nationally to sell things like final expense, Medicare, and annuities, both face-to-face and over the phone. Make sure you subscribe and like this video if you happen to enjoy this content. Thanks so much for watching. So first of all, let's provide some ground rules here, or some basic definitions as to what an override is and what bonuses are, just in case you're brand new and this is all new to you. Maybe you're looking at an agency and they're hyping up this override and bonus stuff. You want to know exactly how that works, and we'll get to the meat very shortly after that. So first of all, an override is what you earn on a downline agent that is in your hierarchy when they make a sale. And the percentage, or the commission that you earned, basically is the difference between your commission level and the commission level beneath you that they're at. So just for simple math purposes, if I have an agent that's at a 100% commission contract, and then the downline agent is at a 90% contract, and that downline agent writes a $1,000 premium for the entire year, then it's a difference between 100% and 90%, which is 10%. And that 10% times 1,000 annual premium is a $100 override that's payable to the upline, assuming the business stays on the books and there's no troubles keeping it in force. So as you can kind of start to extrapolate, it's kind of a cool thing to have a lot of agents writing a lot of business with a significant enough percentage override, because it provides you this level of income flow from work that you're not necessarily doing, that another agent of yours is doing. More on that, of course, in a minute, and why that's not always as good as it sounds. And of course, bonuses are going to be kind of one of two things depending on the organization you're in. A bonus could be what a carrier pays you for achieving a certain amount of production per month, per quarter, whatever the designated period of time is for any issued business. For example, there are carriers that will pay a 10% bonus on production, depending on if you hit a certain amount of production per quarter or per month. There are other ones that do an 8% bonus. So some carriers do this, a lot of them don't. We'll kind of explain why here in a moment as we go through it. And then there's also the bonuses that you get in these hierarchy arrangements, where you start to advance your way up the ladder as you recruit agencies and agents and build your overall production, and then graduate to different levels, of which may offer you some kind of override production bonus, quote unquote, that may be the summation of the total agency's production or something in addition to it. So it's kind of like an override, but it's kind of set differently outside of the normal scheme of the original override we talked about. So why is this normally an override or a bonus, while sounding good, a terrible thing, I think, for most recruiting organizations that you're probably watching videos of? I'm going to give you a couple of reasons why the override stuff, yes, it's good, but if it's good, only if it's structured the right way. And you're going to understand really quickly why you probably don't have it set up, structured the right way, and then building an agency with these organizations is going to expose you to an undue level of risk. So first of all, there is a risk-reward basis to the override arrangement that you're set up with. For example, you may not be aware of, but there is not only an upside to an agent producing business, there's also the downside risk if that agent that's in your hierarchy doesn't keep pieces of business on the books. They lapse, they cancel, they die. There's going to be some kind of chargeback in most of those cases, And the risk here is that if that agent who wrote that business decides to be a bum and not pay back the chargeback, guess who co-signed on it? You did. You are effectively building an agency, co-signing on a host of agents' advances, and saying in writing, when you allow their commission or their contract to be submitted, that if they're a bum, you're going to back them up. In other words, you're going to have that debt, what we call in the business, roll up to you. That's the lingo that's used. And then it becomes your responsibility. You assume the responsibility because it's contractually obligated, and you must, out of your own pocket, pay back the chargeback. Now, here's the thing. Chargebacks are a part of the business. Bums that are insurance agents are a part of the business. But for somebody like myself who's recruited agents since 2014, and I've had my fair share of bums, let me tell you, the truth is that you got to make sure that if you're going to set up an override arrangement, that you do it the right way. And a lot of these MLMs don't do it the right way. And here's how I mean. If you're, let's say, at 100% contract, and you're override on an agent who's brand new, has no street cred, could be a bum, maybe not a bum, you really don't know because they're brand new to the game, your upside potential is 10%, right? Well, here's the thing. The downside potential is 100%. Because if they go rogue and they cancel their policies, or the policies they wrote get canceled by the clients and they don't pay it, well, not only do you have to pay the chargeback that they didn't pay, the agent, you also have your override charged back as well. And so what I'm saying here is that you've really got to think hard how you recruit agents and what level of risk you're willing to take. For me personally, I don't recruit new agents with no experience with a 10 percentage point upside. That is too risky of an endeavor to take on. What you should do instead is have an override of 20, 30%, maybe even more on somebody who's brand new, then over time raise their commissions as they prove themselves that they're not going to screw you and leave you with debt. And again, you might be balking at this like, well, Dave, that's selfish. You're taking a huge cut of the business. Sure, I am. But it's because I'm giving somebody the right to take my money if they decide to have a bunch of bum clients that they don't ever follow up with, or they're a bad agent. And I have paid chargebacks in the $15,000 to $20,000 range on agents who went rogue. Also, I have heard of agents from very big organizations that you may be a part of, you may watch their channels, who have chargeback debts, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 with one company that they push all the time because the agent or agents beneath them were terrible. They didn't do their job. All that hype never panned out, and guess who's holding the bag? That upline who now is on the hook for all this terrible, terrible chargeback debt. So what do you do instead? Well, I hate to say it like this, but you got to socialize the risk. In other words, you have to just trust but cut the cards when you recruit a new agent. I would not be building an agency with any organization out there, no matter how great they sound, no matter how many people they're bringing on, when you as an upline only have the ability, because there's not a lot of spread between you and the other guy, a 10% override upside potential. That's too much risk for unproven talent, because as you probably know, where you're starting in these organizations, they heavily recruit and heavily push recruiting. And what happens is there's all these layers of fat of recruits who also recruit, and that leaves so much override room, so little override room for you, that you have an inability to go higher and an inability to offer a good contract while giving yourself as the recruiting agent enough override spread to make the risk tolerable. Therefore, where I'm going with all of this is that when you recruit and build an agency with an organization that mass recruits and has layer after layer of fat and people taking a piece of the action, leaving you very little override potential, you're putting yourself in huge risk. And again, this is stuff they don't talk about. They don't talk about the risk elements, and it's through the roof on what's possible. Again, I remember a gentleman down in Georgia who hired one agent. The guy was a fraudster, and he went out and wrote 60 deals. 58 of them lapsed in 2 months. and all of that business rolled up to him. Guy was gone. Basically white collar crime. So this is something that's serious, that shouldn't be overplayed or downplayed as something that's not a big deal. If you decide to build an organization, you got to make sure the upside potential is there, not further on as you start to build your agency, but right from the beginning. This is why I recruit agents at higher contracts, because I'm not some mass recruiter that recruits other recruiters who also recruit. I'm a very broad organization. I can offer my agents high commissions as agents, and then as they start to build their agency, they've got all this room, because there's not all this layer of fat between me and them, to then go and recruit and have an agency that is actually lucrative and profitable. Now, the other thing I want to say here and mention is how bonuses work. I think this is pretty important to understand as well. Bonuses are essentially window dressing, okay? Especially if these are IMO, MLM inspired bonuses. These are the kind of carrots that they throw out at agents who are brand new, that don't know how things work, that sound incredible or sound good, but it's like a sleight of hand, like the magician. He shows you one thing as the hand is over here lowering the commission. And many times where you see these organizations that offer bonuses, always fact check the commission levels. It's likely that the commission levels that you'd start at are lower than agencies like mine that aren't fat, that are broad as far as the downlines after downlines go, so there's more room with something like mine than the others. And that they use the attraction or the good sound of a bonus as kind of an inspiration to get people all hot and bothered about joining their organization. So don't fall for the bait right away. I'm not saying bonuses are a bad thing. It's just more often than not, when bonuses are used, it's because it just sounds like a way to recruit people and get excited without paying attention to the facts. At the end of the day, anybody who's a top producer, anybody who's a top agency builder cares about one thing. Well, there's more than one thing, but if the trust is there and the leads are there, for sure. The other thing is comp. Is the comp high enough where I can make the most money for my production? Or is the comp high enough so I can recruit and build a profitable agency while also mitigating for the risk of bum agents who don't pay their chargebacks back? They don't get enraptured by bonuses and all these nice sounding words, because they know it's just window dressing. At the end of the day, the old adage is true. There is no such thing as a free lunch. Don't expect the idea of a bonus to be something that outbeats maximizing your comp through production, through recruiting, and dealing with an organization that flat out pays you maximally by your commission contract, not some arbitrary set of comp levels that are kind of window dressing, that are fully disclosing of what you're actually going to get paid, and the idea of bonuses to make it sound better than it is. A pig's still a pig if you put lipstick on it, as they say. So that's my opinion on how things work. That's how we think at DeFord Insurance Group. I do recruit agencies to build agencies with me. I think it's something that some people are naturals at, and they should consider doing it. And I think an organization like mine, the reason I would ask you to consider it is because we care about making sure you get paid very well, that you have the autonomy to build your agency, and not get all, sleight of handed out of all these other things that aren't gonna, really pan out to the way they can be. I know how to build agencies. I've done it very successfully since my inception in 2014, and I can teach anybody to do the same exact thing safely and profitably. If you'd like to learn more, go to DeFord Insurance Group. Actually, daviddeford.com/FAQ. There you go. The links above and below will take you to that page I just mentioned. If you have any comments, criticisms, questions, leave them below in the chat. Happy to receive any critique or answer any questions you got. My name's Dave Duford. Thanks for watching. See y'all later. Bye.